This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Once upon a time, two men decided if they were making the cut. And then they made the cut. And now JT and Aaron are talking everything from wrestling to pop culture and beyond. Because it's no holds barred.
Will you back down, turn and run, or stand up with the best? When your back's to the wall, what will your answer
Hi,
be?
it's No Holds Barred. I'm JT. This is Aaron. Hi,
Where
Aaron.
the hell have we been?
Where have you been?
I've been at my house.
You know what's amazing? I've been at your house. It's amazing that I've seen you in person more recently than we've talked on Skype.
Yep. And we kept talking about while we were in person doing something,
Yes.
and then we just never did.
Well, you know why? Because I was like, we can do this anytime, a podcast, but we don't ever really get to hang out together.
Yeah.
So we should do other things while we hang out, like bang and
Well,
watch wrestling.
let's just say I've closed down my garage.
Yes. We went full Brokeback Mountain in that thing. But I do have a pop quiz for you, Hot Shot. Do you remember? This is episode number 14 of No Holds Barred, by the way.
Okay.
Do you remember when episode 13 was?
It was on my birthday.
Look at you, Mr. Fancy Pants. We posted it on January 12th.
What do I win?
We get to continue the episode.
All right, great.
Okay.
Great.
So that was the last time we did one of these. It was over 7 months ago. It's been a fast 7 months. Lots happened. Bray Wyatt has gone through 2 characters. Yep. We've had Brock Lesnar come and go. We've seen the Yankees become this juggernaut. That's been fun. I visited you in Canada. We talked about that. So I think we're caught up.
Yeah, I think we're ready to go. We're just going to proceed as though there hasn't been a 7-month gap.
Do you remember what we had on in the background in that episode?
Oh, God, was it? It wasn't New Year's Day, was it?
No, that was we actually did back-to-back episodes pretty much. That one aired on December 30th. That's when we watched New Year's Eve. We had something else on for your birthday, though. We also talked about something called the Itch List, which I don't know what that is.
Was it the Jesse Ventura one?
It sure was.
Yes. Imagine following this podcast series and not knowing there's a gap. And we're so blind to what just happened. Right?
Well, that just happened.
Yeah.
But we're going to watch a little something different tonight because if you do recall, back before, I don't know when that would have been that we did this. You reminded me of it, that we had done this, some 1997 thing. Oh, that was a while ago. That was episode 4 back last. It was a year ago, July 24th, which would be tomorrow. We had episode 4, so 10 episodes in a year. That's not bad. So we did our part 1 of 1997 timeline deep dive, and that was before our podcast became all GWE tag teams, pretty much there for a bit.
Right.
And you reminded me that a year ago. Good on you again for remembering this. That we had talked about WrestleMania 13 and kind of where it lies as a WrestleMania. Is it really one of the worst?
We talked about that in my garage.
Oh, that wasn't on the show?
No, not even close. We were discussing it
now people are even more confused.
Away in my garage.
Now people are even more confused.
Yep.
I don't remember that conversation. Apparently I don't either. All right, so we talked about it in your garage while watching One Night Only?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're watching 97 stuff, and started talking about Mania and batting an idea around that we're going to explore a bit tonight, perhaps.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. I remember this. Okay, so anyways, the idea, as Snooki would say, is we sat here and thought about, in your garage, we're thinking about, is WrestleMania 13 actually one of the worst? What makes it one of the worst? Because it has an all-time, maybe the greatest match of all time on the card, and that ties into our overarching theme of the episode. I'm piecing it together as I go. Is going to be starting to talk about the newest, greatest WWE ever project, and that is greatest WWE pay-per-view TV match ever, is what we're working on here at placetobenation.com. Last year we did tag teams. The year before that we did singles wrestlers. Now we're doing match, and that'll be due at the end of the year. So, Aaron, we decided maybe if we actually get to do this show at some point, we should talk about that list because that's kind of our thing over the past couple of years.
Holding it together.
Yeah. We're pioneers with Will out of the game, apparently. So
we can't keep up with his schedule. There's no way.
Yeah, I don't know if he's even alive anymore, honestly. I haven't heard from him in a long time. I hope he is.
Tragedy from Texas.
So anyway, we talked about can that really be the worst Mania with such an iconic match? And then we started talking about where that match ranks and blah, 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 blah. So what we're going to do is we are going to talk GWWE greatest pay-per-view TV match ever while WrestleMania 13 is playing in the background behind us. So we'll be commenting on that Mania as we go and kind of weaving in a little bit of discussion on can it really be the worst Mania or one of the worst Manias with that match and others on the card. So that said, you and I are both paused at 8 seconds. Ray Charles' blind eyes are on the screen.
Blind face.
Blind eyes are on the screen. I'm going to count us in. We're going to hit play, and then that'll play as we talk. How's that sound?
It sounds great. Okay, hold on. Is it 1, 2, 3?
I'm going to say
play?
3, 2, 1, go.
And we're pushing play on go?
On go.
All right.
That work?
Is everybody, let's give them a second to get it loaded up if you want to watch along with us.
Well, they can just pause this.
Yeah, just pause it.
Okay.
Just turn it off. Don't listen to it anymore.
If I hate WrestleMania 13, I'm not listening to this shit.
It's the worst of all time. These assholes are going to try to defend it.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Play. Okay.
Okay, and pre-Parkinson's Muhammad Ali also.
Say that again, please.
I can't, because apparently I'm having Parkinson's as I'm speaking.
Muhammad Ali. Okay. All right. So let's talk.
Yeah. So GWWE greatest match of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Where to begin? Top of the list: Buddy Rogers, Pat O'Connor. What's your star rating?
Yeah. A.
That's what I had too.
So this project, there was a lot of consternation, if you remember, like on the singles wrestler one, because we had the NJPW system, where people felt maybe a little constrained or it was a little bit confusing at times. So the tag teams is a Wild West, and the match one has to also kind of be. It's hard to really box this stuff in because it is so subjective. So. I mean, are you looking at this as favorites or like aesthetically objectively the greatest matches?
Well, I don't think you can look at it objectively doesn't make sense because everybody's going to have a different view of what that is, right? Like a 5-star match for me is going to be different than a 5-star match for you, right? So how can you be objective about it? Like you can be as objective as possible. I mean, I hope no one's putting Rick Rude and Jake Roberts at their number 1 position from WrestleMania 4
or any match from WrestleMania 2 anywhere on the list.
Right. Yeah, that would also not be smart. But yeah, so it is hard to be subjective. So I think it's a mix of both. Like for me, like I know I have matches that are my favorite that are not ranked as highly as matches that maybe I don't like as much, but But I can view them as a better match. Mm-hmm. But then I'm sure I have matches that I've ranked crazy high that
Hogan Andre. Yep.
Yeah, Hogan Andre that I'll argue it deserved to be up there. And it's funny because that's not even a match that let's start with Hogan Andre.
Okay.
Yeah. Why not? Since you brought it up.
Why'd I say it? Yep.
All right. So look, for me, I would be shocked if Hogan Andre finished out of my top 5.
I'd be shocked if it finished in my top 5.
Well, that's much you're giving away a lot of leeway there.
Yeah, I get it. All right, go ahead. Give me your usual argument. Let me hear it.
Well,
for the 15th
if anyone's ever heard this before, it's like it's probably the most important match of all time. It's one of the best stories of all time. I think the match for what it is actually perfect. I don't need Andre the Giant doing a moonsault for it to be a 5-star match.
But see, now that's just projecting, and it's a straw man that people feel like there needs to be a moonsault to make it a 5-star match.
No, I don't. I am being facetious, but I mean, I don't know what they could have done better. Like, if you look at the crowd during that match, they're biting on every movement they make. They're going nuts for everything they're doing. It's a fantastic story. It's a great culmination. It's a major moment for Hogan. It sold that arena. Obviously not 93,000, but it sold a lot. And, if you ask anyone from that era who's just a tertiary wrestling fan, like what is the biggest match of all time? What's the best match of all time? They'll tell you that one usually. And so to me, it's almost a no-brainer. And yeah, I don't. I mean, I guess I get the work rate argument, but even I rewatched it recently, and it like Andre's having trouble moving, but it's not an unbelievable fight. It's not Great Khali in there. It's Andre the Giant, who has a really good grasp of psychology. Yeah. So, no-brainer. It's top 5 for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because in doing the kind of reboot on PTB podcast, where Scott and I restarted in '85, I've been doing the MSG house shows along with the pay-per-views and Simon Smith events. Andre's become like my favorite guy. And he was a guy that I always liked a lot. I always respected and revered him. But I wasn't like super like, oh, Andre's the best. You know what I mean? Like I just assumed his great stuff happened like in the 70s and early 80s. And by the time he got to WWF, he was kind of just coasting in 84, 85, and then, you know, falls apart later. But I'll tell you, like even through 88, like he was my MVP of 88 thanks to his presence. And you can see some of what you're talking about in 88, 89, just knowing how to work. Didn't need the work rate, quote unquote, in there. But just his presence and character alone were enough to carry a lot of these matches. We had talked about, and we ate up all my free Canadian data watching Warrior vs. Andre the Giant. Did you ever finish that match?
Not yet. I will.
Okay. From September 89. So I get 100% what you're saying. Honestly, I do. And it is one of the biggest matches of all time. I honestly haven't gotten this far yet. I may end up with it higher than I expect, right. But I haven't gotten to the point where I'm slotting things. So it'll be interesting. I'm really interested with a match like that to see where it lands. What do you think? Go ahead. Yep.
I guess my argument too is that if you're not you, but like if anyone's thinking about like, I'd like to know what, and if you want to write us, what could they have done to make it better?
Right.
Like, and don't say Andre could have been in better physical condition.
No. Okay. I don't think they could have done anything to make it better, but does that make it perfect?
Or what are the flaws?
I mean, just because you max out the potential, like I may have played the best game I've ever played out on the backyard Flanagan Court here of basketball. Does that mean I played a great game of basketball? Or did I max out my perfect potential with, on a team with the Cowboy and Andy Flanagan? Like we played a perfect game for that court, but is that a perfect game of basketball? I think you could argue it's the perfect Hulk Hogan Andre the Giant match, but is it really the greatest match that they've ever put on in company history?
I mean, I think you have to look at the effectiveness during the live show. I think that makes a huge difference because I didn't experience it live. Mm-hmm. You didn't experience it live, right? But like people are losing their goddamn minds like the entire match. And like there's lots of great matches on this we're going to talk about that have great crowd reactions that will have crowds that are into it. But this is in a big stadium and it's loud and they're just people are going ballistic. So like in the end, the end result of pro wrestling is to make you suspend your disbelief a bit, is to make you jump out of your seat and cheer or boo. And like it just for me that checks all the boxes.
But they go ballistic for a lot of that card.
But nowhere near that one.
I'd have to see a decibel meter.
Maybe when Steamboat wins the title, it's close.
Right.
But I don't see. And it's funny. I don't know if I buy the after everyone left that show, all they were talking about was Macho Man and Randy Steamboat narrative. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very wrestler narrative. Because I would agree, like probably like guys like wrestlers who've done interviews for things. I believe them. I believe Chris Jericho probably liked that match the best, right? He liked the Savage Steamboat match the best. But I don't think the general public left necessarily with that. And it's just me. It's anecdotal. It's talking to people who were fans at the time. But like a lot of them don't even remember that match on the same level as this one.
Right. All right, let's talk about other number one match contenders, then maybe it'll become more clear. So, like, if you were just tossing out a handful of matches to handicap, if you're in Vegas, put them up on the board, like, what are the likely top contenders when you think of the voting group? Their likely tendencies, overall aesthetic. I mean, you got Savage Warrior, you got Bret Hart Austin at 13, you got Austin Rock at 17. Anything else leap into that mindset besides Hogan Andre for you?
I don't know if this will register with a lot of voters, but I think one that has an outside chance of doing extremely well is John Cena CM Punk for Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's.
And you know what? Let me open this up to top 5 because I think one's going to be tricky to probably best a couple, as I mentioned. So let's just say what are like the top 5 contenders,
People are probably going to vote for Undertaker Michaels at 09.
Mm-hmm.
I would say what people are going to vote for, Bret Hart Austin, maybe one of the matches from WrestleMania 10.
Yeah. Yep. Win or Razor Shawn. How about Rumble 92?
Yeah, that probably. Savage Warrior based on this crew.
Oh, I definitely think Savage Warrior, yeah.
Yeah. I would say those are probably my top ones, the ones we just mentioned. Yeah. Did I mention 5? I think so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. More than 5.
Yeah. I don't know if they. Yeah, I don't know if they'd be my top 5, but that's where I would throw the bet.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Here's another one I think that could sneak in. Maybe is Austin Dude Love from Over the Edge 98.
Yeah, I'm not sure if enough people recognize how great that match is, and I don't mean to sound condescending by saying that. Like I actually think it's amazing. Like right now, like I'm watching pay-per-views by year and kind of like ranking the best matches, and right now I have that as number 8 of all time, like for me. But there's some years missing, a couple of important years missing, but it's high, right? Like that's a great match too, because the work rate is wonderful, but that one's so much about the story.
I got 2 other Cena matches for you: Cena Umaga and Cena Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, they're gonna go high too. I watched Cena Umaga actually the other night for the first time in a long time, and it's amazing. Yeah. Like,
did you have it a 5?
I don't know. Oh yeah. Cena Bryan, I believe, is also a 5 from what I remember. Looking at it now, once I watch Cena Bryan again, I think I might have Cena Bryan a bit ahead of Cena Umaga. But I think that's only because I think Cena Umaga, as much as I love it and I think it's great and I don't want people to get angry, but I think it's actually hurt a little bit by the last man standing stipulation. In that, like, they're all 5-star matches, so like it becomes like you're really nitpicking, right? It's like what we talked about with all like the greatest wrestlers stuff. It's like you're really looking at the minutia to try to really give yourself a great list, right?
And I would think the majority of people, I mean, you have tough graders, like not to bust on Chad, but like Chad, like where the 5 stars are limited, but I think the majority of the folks voting in this are going to have a wider swath of WWF 5-star match. I'm curious, like, where the line's going to be for most people's 5-star. Like, do you have 20 5-star matches in WWE history? 25? Like where's the cutoff on this list? Because when you look at stuff that's nominated, there's some really fucking good matches on this list that may be 4 stars that may not sniff. Like, 4.5 may be the end of 100. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's it. So something
right now, my end is 4.25.
Right. So it's
and I still have a few years to do.
Yeah. So stuff's gonna get bumped out. Like you're probably gonna be in the 4.5 range. So stuff that's like excellent matches, like a Cena Batista series, right? Like they have like really damn good matches that aren't gonna even sniff, that top. I'm just flipping through the list really quick because there's so many good matches that were nominated in consideration. But I think when we are throwing out nominations, because we've talked about this before too, it's a lot about the journey more than the actual output sometimes. So the journey's fun to watch these matches and see what you think of them. But there are stuff that just, didn't even belong near this list. That were, top out at 3 3/4, 4 stars. They're just never going to make it in.
Yeah.
Unless people, toss in that last 5 courtesy vote or something like that. So not to get you too off kilter from what you're talking, but I think it's an interesting point to think about how elite this list in theory is going to be. Probably 4.5 stars and above, everything on it.
Yeah, and the more, and it's funny too because like the more, I would say at least the last like 3-4 years, we've had probably more 4-star matches every year than ever before. Like if you look at the product as a whole, right? Like because the in-ring stuff is generally extremely strong. But the problem with all those is they're all forgettable.
Yeah, I was actually going to lead you to that too. So go ahead. I'm interested on the current year stuff.
Yeah, like so for me, like I mean, everybody's different, right? Like, but like I know I tend to rate on more of a and not just rate, but even rank in terms of what we're doing on more of a total package moment, right? So like, I love his WCW music. I want to make an entrance to a wedding to his WCW music. So
it was also like, the WWF Hotline music for a bit there.
Really?
Yeah, they used it for the Hotline.
So like, for me, I love it. I love him coming out of Starrcade 95 and getting the biggest pop on the show just because they want someone to win for America. So for me, like a match like Undertaker Mankind Hell in the Cell is going to finish really high, right? Like that's going to be maybe a top 10. So like because of the package, because of what it is, because of what it represented. So I know that's where I'm going with my voting, and that's how I go with my rating too usually. What about for you? Like for you, is it really is it what happens bell to bell? Is it the story plus? I know I also tend to take into consideration the crowd. Like if the crowd turns something into like this special event, that matters too, which is exactly what I think of when I think of John Cena and CM Punk for Money in the Bank, right? It's like what
That's what I think of when I think big match.
Stinger!
Yeah, I do look at everything as a whole. But I think stuff like the crowd and whatnot is going to definitely help, like when it comes to differentiating some of these things. And I think that's maybe where you're going with some of the more modern stuff. And I think storyline will play part of it too, right? Like, I mean, that just adds to it. Like, that's what I think makes something like Warrior Savage so much even hotter, is just the story around it, right? The long-standing feud between the two. And then the career-ending stipulation that's tacked on part, the Elizabeth piece of it. Like, there's so much other stuff going on beyond just a great match. I am curious on how just, like, technical classics will perform. Like, I think Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate.
Tyler Bate.
Right? Like, I think that's a prime example of, you know, what many felt was 5 or close to star match on a random NXT takeover, right? That was kind of for the 8th tier belt that blends a bit with other matches. And how do you compare that where you may have that at 4 3/4, say, or 5, but how do you compare that to Hogan Warrior, where I know you're real high on that match, but most probably have that around like 4 stars, 4 1/4 or something. You know what I mean? But it's so much more memorable and it's meant so much more. Main evented WrestleMania in front of 67,000 people, the ultimate culmination of these two superheroes and the first real dent in Hogan's armor. So, you know, there's like so much about that. How do you compare that to what some may consider like a perfect match today? Even like, let me toss out a really good example, because I think this one is, you know, pretty well renowned as like a 5-star match. One I saw live. It was Ring of Honor, the 6-minute now, but it was Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins versus John Cena at Royal Rumble 15. You know, you were there as well, right? It was awesome match. I think it's a 5-star match. I think it was excellent. But what did it mean in the long run, right? I mean, did it? I know Rollins a couple months later it would pay off a bit at WrestleMania 31, but not directly. So a match like that, how does that fare versus some of the bigger matches historically that may not have been as technically great? And I kind of feel like that's what you're beating around by saying, like, how much does the crowd and the story and the atmosphere weigh into you in something like this? So, like, do you go strictly by your star ratings? Do you star rate apparently based on this other stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I know I star rate based on all of it.
Right. So, like, what do you have Hogan
so, like,
Warrior at on your little list there?
5.
Okay.
Like, because again, I think it's like, I mean, I'd say a lot of the same things with Hogan and Andre, just not quite as big. Right. Although I think it's probably a better technical match than Hogan and Andre. I think more happens in it. It's a bit more exciting, maybe. I don't know. For me,
that's a little longer too, a little more to it.
Yeah, but for instance, like the match you're just talking about, Lesnar, Cena, and Rollins. To me, it's a 5-star match too, but it's probably in the lower end of the 5-star matches,
right?
Because of that, right?
Well, that's you get to something like Chad's rankings, right? So he does the 10-star, he does the 10 scale, right? So he has stuff like, you know, he may give a match an 8.5 or 8 point, and that's how he slots, which I think is what you're getting at, where how do you rank within that construct of 5? So I think that's what's going to really challenge a lot of people with this list, where yes, you may have 50 matches if you're generous, where you consider to be this top tier 5-star match, but now how are you lining up those 50 matches on this list?
Yeah, and like I guess I mean, I feel like I'm kind of at an advantage because I was already kind of doing it.
Right.
But to me, it's got to be everything, right? Like the only reason I don't have Hogan Andre number 1 right now is because there's matches that I think are maybe not necessarily as important, but extremely important.
Right.
But just way better in ring. Right. Like, so that's why I don't think it would finish number 1, although I'd consider it for sure. But like a lot of these I've thought a lot about already so far. And like, so like for me, importance plays a big deal too. Right. And then sometimes like here's another great example of like what I think is just an amazing technique. Like here's a match that in the long run meant 0. Right. But in the moment, it was almost a perfect presentation. And it's Sami Zayn against Nakamura,
right,
from Dallas. I think everything about that is amazing. Like I think both guys are so good in the match. The match is incredible, and I think the crowd is just such an integral part of like going nuts for both guys. Plus, it's Sami Zayn's goodbye to NXT, and he meant so much to that brand. And like you can just see the emotions swell in him when they're saying goodbye and singing his song, and like. So it's like it really is a perfect presentation in a lot of ways for me anyway. But what does it matter now?
Right.
Like they've done nothing with both guys.
So I mean that's an interesting point too. So does the follow-up mean anything to you in this? Like, so we talk about the crowd, we talk about the build, we talk about the story, the presentation. Does it affect you? I think we'd get into this a little bit too with like the tag team stuff, like, or it was more the single stuff. Maybe we talked about like the jump up moments and all that, but. Like, how much does that affect you as well when you're rating this? Like, the fact that those guys did maybe go nowhere or petered out, does that really matter? Like, if you just have random teams in a random moment or random guys that blow up and just have this unexpectedly awesome match, should it matter if they're not, like, main eventers or they didn't propel them to greatness following it?
Well, you know what else I think, too, is that when you look at a lot of these matches, too, how many of these things or how many of these matches actually have some concrete things that changed because of the match.
Right. Very few.
There's not actually that many. So we're just talking about Steve Austin, Dude Love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really change anything.
No.
Like, it's just a great match and a great moment.
I mean, you could say like, maybe it helped Vince and the Stooges, and maybe that doesn't get as big without that match. Like, if you look at in history of stuff like, does history change if the match didn't exist? Like, that's the way to look at it, right? So,
right.
If you don't have, whatever, Bret Hart, Undertaker, SummerSlam 97, I think things are dramatically different in the year of 1997, right? So the stuff like that where you can look at and say, okay, if this match didn't exist, does it matter or alter? And to your point, there's not that many, I don't think, where you can say that. So yeah, to me, I never really looked at follow-up.
Me neither.
Or card placement, but it's funny because looking at this list and going through it, like how many matches that you're going to have on the 100 or at least higher on the list feature guys that aren't prominent players at that time.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said too for opportunity,
right?
Like obviously, like Triple H, for example, is as much as I don't love him as a performer, is going to probably have a ton of matches on this list.
Right.
But I mean, the guy has had like 150 to 170 pay-per-view matches.
Yeah.
Right, like, which is crazy compared to someone like CM Punk who's had like 40 or 50, right? Like, so like obviously,
but I'm
like,
talking even lower than Punk. I mean, Punk was a main event guy. I'm talking like how many lower mid card guys just like stole the show on a pay per view. Like I'm just looking at some of the matches on this list, right? We have like Edge and Christian versus Awesome and Lance Storm, right? Like Lance Storm versus Christian, SmackDown 7/19/01. But this stuff isn't going to make it. Point being, they were nominated because they were very good. But how many of those type of matches could actually be found and make this list? Like, I feel like they're all going to feature probably top players of the eras that they're nominated in. Like, we're going to have Sheik and Slaughter on there, right? But they were top guys at that time.
Who's the biggest outlier that you can think of as having an all-time great match out of nowhere?
I
got maybe Neville.
Yeah, but he's good. I mean, he's really good. So I don't think that's that big of an. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you said, "Oh, this Neville match was great." I mean, they didn't use him, but I'm not shocked that he put on a great match.
No, but he's a guy who, given the opportunity, might have way more matches on this list.
Sure, but I'm saying guys that. I guess you could say he was lower mid card. So if Neville makes the list, he may be the lowest presented guy. But even then, he was. I don't think he was presented that low. He was kind of the leader of 205 Live. I mean, it's not their prime show, but it's still, it's not fucking Kalisto or something. Like it's or Grand Metalik, who's like on the show but not really presented as like the top dog.
Who are you to doubt Grand Metalik?
Right? Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone that really pops at the top here. I mean, I'm scanning the list really quick. I mean, maybe like Too Cool in that 10-man or something, but even that, I watched that as part of our live watch group chat, and I only had that at like 3.5, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have it. I mean, I'm gonna watch it. Like, that's something actually we should talk about later too. Is that like I'm having a very hard time finding a ton of TV matches to watch. Mm-hmm. That I actually want to invest the time into checking out.
All right. Let's put that aside because I got another topic I want to get to too in a second. But I want to finish exploring this one. Yeah. What do you have like Shane McMahon Blackman at?
Oh God, I don't even know. Blackman, that's 99, right?
2000.
2000. I'd have to check. Like something to consider. It's not making my list.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine.
So Blackman's not on the list.
Like you mentioned earlier, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, that might be something where like they're kind of an outlier.
Yeah. What about like World's Greatest Tag Team? Do you have any of their stuff on there?
Let me check. So far, they might be there.
Them against Kidman and Ray, or them against Eddie and Tajiri, maybe something like that.
Yeah, right now I don't have them on the list. Okay. I have them Kidman and Ray at 4 stars.
Okay.
From Vengeance, but 03, but it's too far behind a bunch of other stuff.
All right, yeah. So Dunn and Bate may be the one.
Yeah, where you won't have anything else from them anywhere.
Right, and I think everyone else is like, I'd be shocked if there's many guys on this list that weren't at least world champion like once.
Yeah.
Maybe like Kid 1-2-3 Kid if you have him and Owen on there or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that, or the tag from Action Zone maybe like gets him on there, but. I would think most guys on this list would have been WWE World Champion, Universal, whatever at some point.
Yeah. Here's an outlier match that I think will make my list, but it's not. I don't have it that high, but I think it'll make the list. Is the 5-on-5 team match from Survivor Series '87?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yep,
so there's a bunch of guys that will like Paul Roma's probably going to be on my list.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a good one. I mean. The spirit of mine was more like not gimmicky stuff, but like a singles match. Like, I mean, you could say Rumble '92 is going to make lists, and you're going to have every Repo Man's going to be on that fucking match. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you're actually looking just names versus names,
right. But that's a match. That's a match that's actually carried.
Yeah, you're right.
By like the Bees, the Stallions, and the Islanders. Mm-hmm. Really.
No, you're not wrong on that. What is? Let's get to TV in a minute. But do you think you'll have any women's matches on your list?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how many, but like for sure, this is a great example of a match we were talking about before. Mm-hmm. I know Sasha Banks Bayley, their first one will be on my list. It'll be very high too, but that's also a match that I feel has tremendous influence.
Right.
Like I don't like when Sasha Banks quit quote unquote quit early in the year. Like I kind of get it. Like you're building this whole women's revolution, right? Mm-hmm. And that's someone who's kind of been left in the dust by it to a certain degree. But without that match, I don't know if you have any of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible, right? I mean, I'd say that's more likely yes than no.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to know for sure, clearly, but to me, it's definitely. I mean, it would probably be between that and the WrestleMania main event for the most important women's match of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get pithy, you could argue the Wendy Richter match. WrestleMania 1, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you could.
So any besides that one, you think?
I think their rematch might make my list.
Okay, so those two. Anyone besides that pairing?
I'm gonna have to take a look at the ones from last year with Charlotte and the one from Evolution. That's the good one? The one from Evolution with Charlotte and Becky Lynch.
I believe so. Yeah.
I'll probably have to watch that again. I will watch that again. I'm gonna have to watch Asuka and Charlotte from WrestleMania again. But I seem to remember that being just like a solid 4, which would put it on the outside of the list.
Right. How about the mixed tag at WrestleMania last year, the Rousey?
Maybe. I don't know if it crosses my threshold.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I had it around 4, maybe.
I think, yeah. And here to give you some context. Like right now, remember I have a couple years left to watch. Only 5. Like I'm almost done.
Yep.
My 100 match right now would be Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan from Extreme Rules.
Right.
2 out of 3 falls. So, and I think that match is amazing.
Right. And it's probably not going to make your list.
No, it's for sure going to get bumped out.
Because what years do you have left?
I'm doing 07 now, so already, but I kind of factored that in before we started talking.
Mm-hmm.
07, okay, 88, 91.
All right, so 88, you're probably not going to have anything.
Well, I will. Because I'm for sure going to rank Warrior Honky super high.
Okay. Well,
because
a normal person probably wouldn't have anything from 88.
It's perfect. Like, again, it's perfect. Like,
so 91, maybe Brett perfect?
Yeah, maybe.
Do you already have Warrior Savage?
91 for sure, Savage Warrior.
Yep. Okay, you got that. Hogan Slaughter, maybe?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Does that crack 4 stars for you?
I think I have it at 4.
Yeah, see, I don't know if it does for me, but even if it did, that wouldn't crack my list.
Wouldn't be high enough. Yeah, so that might be it for 90. Rockers Orient Express?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I doubt it, though. Like, so 91. Then next would be 07, which I'm watching now. So Cena Umaga is going to make it.
Yeah.
I think Batista Undertaker will make it.
Right, in some form. They have a few that are pretty good.
Yeah, they might make it more than once.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2010.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Undertaker,
Shawn.
Michael.
Yep.
Yeah, Undertaker, Shawn will make it. The Rumble that year will make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have 2013. So the 2 SummerSlam matches for sure.
Yep.
All
right, so you're probably adding 10 to 12, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Do you have any?
12. If I took away 10,
right?
I have Kurt Angle against The Rock from No Way Out.
That would be your bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that sounds right. I'd probably say that's like 4.25-ish.
Yeah, I got it 4.5, but you're close.
Right.
Like,
what's going to be your highest tag? The Revival.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the Revival and DIY from Toronto.
Or
yeah, it's Toronto.
Okay, Toronto.
Yeah.
Well, probably both of them, right?
Yeah, I don't have. Well, I have the other one a little lower.
Okay.
Not much, but.
So that'll be your highest tag team. Any other ones jump out besides that pairing?
Honestly, not really, because I really think the tag stuff is kind of golden, like in NXT.
Right.
Like, I mean, are we talking ladder matches? Because I mean, the TLC series with Edge, Christian, Dudley Boys, and Hardys is all up there.
Right, they'll be up there. How about the No Mercy 02?
You know, when I watched that recently, I didn't have it at 5. I had it 4 3/4.
I mean, it's going to make it, but maybe
it'll make.
So that'll be like in the 50s or something.
You know, maybe in the high 30s, early 40s. Yeah, just going through quickly. Wyatt Family Shield, but that's a 6-man.
Yep. How about the street fight from WrestleMania 13? how about Rock versus Sultan? That's on right now.
Rock and Sultan.
It's not a bad match when you're half watching it while muted.
Yeah, it's actually not a horrible match. It's just got no heat.
Right? It didn't make sense. Like, all right, let's veer, and then we'll come back and talk some more, because I want to get into the TV portion like we teased. All right, so let's talk WrestleMania 13 just for a minute, and then we'll talk here, and then we'll come back to it again. But so we kind of like did some rebooking, right, in your garage. I'm remembering this more now. So like, why not do Rock and Hunter again? But I know you had the Hunter Goldust thing simmering, so you kind of had already played to that. Where do we end up with that? Do we have that like as a 3-way? I feel like we had something else cooking with this. I know Rocky was supposed to fight Mero.
But they weren't really doing 3-ways yet, right? That was kind of our.
That would come later.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it became hard to mess the card around without messing other things up.
Right.
Right. There's always something you lose at the expense of something else.
Right. Like you can't. we don't want to touch Bret Austin. So if you take that out of the mix, where are you at? We had talked about, well, they could have done the Vader versus Mankind death match that, Foley had said was originally in the card. So where does that leave Bulldog and Owen? Well, do you just do them versus the Headbangers and eliminate that opening tag, right? I think, you could maybe do something like that.
Or we talked about making the opening tag for the titles. Right,
and pull out the Blackjacks or whatever, and just stick Bulldog and Owen in there. We had also talked about you could have done the Bulldog and Owen versus Furnace and LaFon rematch from Final Four. I mean, that was a really good match, and it has a fuck finish. So you could have done that rematch and then still done. I would just get rid of that otherwise. Have Headbangers get their title match on the pre-show or something. Their number one contender match on the pre-show, and then do the Mankind versus Vader thing. And I think you add a little bit of juice to the card. I think the conclusion we came to, though, was kind of like, you always get, there's a lot of shitting on that card because although they had so much momentum and this and that, but like I kind of think maybe given the hand they had, I don't know how much more they could have really done with it.
Yeah, honestly, I think short of doing Mankind Vader, but I get why they didn't. I mean, they already have a street fight. They have basically 2 street fights on the show already.
Right. Yep.
So you put a third one, like it starts to be the street fight mania.
Well, and Shawn getting hurt. I mean, the original would have been Brett, Shawn. I don't know where that leaves Austin because I'm assuming you're still doing Taker Sid, so it probably downgrades Austin on that show. Like, where does he end up in that card? Is he even on the show? Who does he fight if they go with the Brett Shawn original plan?
Maybe the original plan too was Pillman.
I don't think he was ready yet.
But that's what I mean.
Like
when in the original planning phase when it was Brett Shawn,
Austin Pillman,
that would make sense. That might be interesting.
I mean, maybe you hold off on Bulldog. Maybe you do him because that was kind of building too. Maybe you do something like him versus Bulldog or something like that.
And if you do him versus Bulldog, you can put Owen against Maivia.
Right. Yeah, you can do something along those lines. So, or maybe you do Shamrock, who's on the screen right now.
Shamrock.
Maybe you wrestle sooner.
Yeah, you could do his, but he also adds a lot to that. Brett Austin match.
Yeah, he's a big part of it that often gets overlooked. So yeah, I mean, I think what we've come to the conclusion is they kind of, given Shawn's injury and where they lie, like I don't think there's much they could have done to improve this card. So we'll leave it at that for now. Why don't we do this actually? Why don't we take a quick break because we're in between matches here on 13 anyway.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll talk more TV-ish for GWWE, and then we can talk more about 13 and where it lies. We'll finish that discussion.
We're just all over the place.
It's a fun, no-holds-barred episode.
Back and better than ever.
It's like Eric Bischoff.
She never kept the same address. In conversation, she spoke just like a baroness. Middleman, China, went down to gauge she might have been again incidentally that way. Love you came naturally.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Place to Be Nations, JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We now offer them to you on 2 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content. Offer tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all of these current shows, plus archives of our previous podcasts over the past 8 years as well by subscribing to our feeds on iTunes. And while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others available at PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using www.placetobenation.com/Amazon while doing your online shopping. And be sure to join us at our forum at bigelow34.proboards.com for all sorts of wrestling, sports, and pop culture discussion each and every day where you can make your voice heard. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and thehistoryofwrestling.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world. All right, Place Nation, we are back, still being barred from No Holds. And hope you're enjoying this discussion as we kind of kick off the initial portion of the GWWE pay-per-view TV match project discussion on No Holds Barred. Hopefully we'll do more of these in the coming months and weeks, and we can carry the torch again for this project. Also carrying the torch, though, Aaron, lots of stuff on both of our feeds. The PlayStation Pop feed, Sarcastic 4, continuing their look at 1971, the second of the three-part episode on the Marvel Age podcast. On the 9th episode of Laugh-In Theater, Andy Atherton, joined by J. Arsenio D'Amato to do a live watch of the 2005 comedy that D'Amato officially basically called a biography of the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Try to peep that. On the 31st installment of Songs of Friends, Stephen Kelly talks some Gin Blossoms and DMX. Hard Traveling Fanboys continues Spider-Man month with a look at the 2002 Sam Raimi directed movie. DC4U continues the celebration of Superman with a look back at the pilot episode of the classic TV show Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Also pay tribute to the late Eddie Jones, who played Pa Kent on that show. Pop Goes to the Movies back with Andy and Miranda looking at Toy Story 4 and Men in Black International. Glenn and Alana were here with a brand new Glenn Butler podcast, Our Spectacular, looking at Stranger Things Season 3. I highly recommend that as a listen. Enjoyed both Season 3 of that show and Glenn and Alana's look at it. And finally, the great debate number 6. Andy was joined by Nick Duke, Jordan Duncan, and Scott Criscolo to debate a multitude of topics. Aaron, it was a year ago we sat here about and gave our bracket predictions for the greatest song of the 80s tournament.
Ooh.
Well, it's back, just like us, and better than ever. This time,
we are not gonna make any predictions because
we're not. But we're gonna do some picks for the polls that went up today. Okay.
I don't know who's listening. I don't know who's gonna fuck with the polls.
Well, I think these are gonna close like in the next day, so we should be okay because they're only open for 2 days. Andy's got a tight clamp on this thing. It's a dedicated Facebook page to search PTBN's greatest song of the 80s tournament, or follow us on Twitter, PlaceNumber2BNation. We tweet the polls out every day as well. All right, so we're in round 1, Aaron, still. We're in the Panama region. So today we had 6 matchups. Here we go. What's Love Got to Do With It? Tina Turner versus Youth Gone Wild by Skid Row.
Oh, that hurts. But as much as I can't go with my heart, I got to go with What's Love Got to Do With It.
Okay. That is winning. Okay. Secondly, we have Wrapped Around Your Finger by the Police taking on Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles.
Egyptians.
They do like to walk.
Yeah.
That's a big.
They're big in slavery.
Poison Arrow by ABC taking on Freeze Frame by the Jay Giles Band.
Freeze Frame?
Freeze Frame.
Freeze Frame.
That's winning as well. All right, here's the most debated one of the day in our live chat group and on social media. I saw some banter about it as well. That is Journey with Faithfully taking on Weird Science by Oingo Boingo, of course, from the movie by the same name.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's Journey.
It seems like things have leveled out. Journey's up decently, 57% to 43%. On Facebook, but let me check Twitter because when I looked at Twitter earlier, Weird Science was actually winning.
Weird Science was winning on Facebook earlier in the day too.
Yeah, so Weird Science is winning 57 to 43 on Twitter, but Faithfully's up 57 to 43 on Facebook.
Great,
but there's more votes on Facebook. Like there's like triple the votes on Facebook, so that should win pretty comfortably. All right, Hall & Oates with Maneater versus Got My Mind Set on You, George Harrison.
I know I'm going to break your heart, but I'm going to go with George Harrison.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not a blowout like you may think at first glance. It's 69% to 31%. I mean, that's, a comfortable lead for Hall & Oates, but it's not like, you may look at that and think it's a big jump. And on Twitter, it's actually even closer, 56 to 44%. So. And finally, the last one for today that we're going to cover, Aaron, is What Is Love? Not the one from the night at the Roxbury, but the song by Howard Jones against We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off by Jermaine Stewart.
I'm going with We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off, but I'm sad that these two songs are against each other as opposed to against some other songs that I like.
So this, Jermaine is up decently on Facebook, but Howie is up pretty commanding lead on Twitter. So it'll be interesting to see how the votes cash out. So anyway, you can do that mind exercise every day. It's very simple, and it's the easiest thing in the world. You just literally click the picture on Facebook. It's like the easiest possible thing in the world. So you should like the page. You should do that. Just click the picture and pick the song that you wish to move on.
And keep commenting. There was a discussion the other day between Photograph and We Built This City on Rock and Roll that was awesome.
Yeah, it was endless.
It culminated by someone being like, "Just tell me why you think it's good."
It was a good argument.
Which I read in that tone and I loved.
It was really well done. All right, over on the PCBN Wrestling feed, that's where we are, Aaron. Ben Zanni had 2 episodes, a row on seat 1 this week. Welcomed in Dominic Guarini and Tony Deppen. Ben's going to have plenty of audio as well from the Scenic City Invitational that's happening next weekend. So we'll be looking forward to that. Episode 130, a main event. Scott Nate, Steve Willie, joined by Sheriff Pete Schermarker, talking the New Japan G1 Climax, AEW, Impact Evolve, and much, much more. We also had a same-night review of Extreme Rules 2019 with Chris Zellner and Devin Hales. And myself, Scott Criscolo, and Tim Slonka were here on the Place to Be podcast, talking MSG House Show from October 89. And finally, just want to give a plug to the pilot episode of a brand new podcast, because I don't have enough going on, Aaron. So did a new show as well. The PTBN Extreme 3-Way Dance, myself, John D'Amato, Jennifer Smith, reviewing. Basically, on this episode was just the pilot. We kind of talked about the concept and what's to come. And we're starting this show officially in 2 weeks-ish from last night, and we're going to start with The Night the Line Was Crossed from February 94. We'll be doing the big shows and the TV of ECW. So I'm really looking forward to that. As I talked about on that pilot, like ECW is one thing I've really always wanted to go through, because I've just never seen a lot of that stuff. Like, I've heard how great it is, and I've seen parts of it, but I've never really relived a lot of the 94, 95, like the heyday of ECW. So I was always wanting a reason to do it. I could never find one, and it just always got pushed out when I had so much other stuff going on to watch and all this other stuff. Yeah. And when they finally dropped like the missing pieces of the puzzle on the network, which are like the big shows, Night Was Crossed, there's like 5 of them in 94. Once those hit, I'm like, all right, I kind of don't have an excuse anymore. Like, everything is there for me, available in order. So I'm just going to do it. So I reached out to the 2 most extreme people in Nation that I know that would be up for a 3-way. So I hit them up, and here we are. So check out the pilot. We go in depth of our experiences with ECW and what we're looking out from the show. It's a quick listen. It's only like 25 minutes, not even. And episode 2 will be out in a couple weeks, and we'll start kind of officially going through the history of the company.
Nice. ECW for me was one of those things, like, I watched my first ECW paper because we didn't get it in Canada forever. But then we started getting the pay-per-views in 1999. Right. And I watched the first pay-per-view I saw was Anarchy Rules 99. So I don't even think it was that good a pay-per-view in context. But it became one of those moments where, like, after watching it, everything changed.
Right.
Like, I remember seeing Tajiri, Super Crazy, and Guido in a 3-way match and being like, what the fuck am I watching in WWF right now?
It's funny. That might have actually been the first one. I don't know. Because when I befriended Adam Murray in September 98, he was already a big ECW fan, and I went to his house for a pay-per-view. Did that have RVD Jerry Lynn as well?
No, that was the year before, I believe.
No, because it was definitely 99 was the first one I saw, I thought.
No, because I think RVD fought Balls Mahoney on it.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe this was shit though. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look back. I know it was like a it might have been in the summer, so I'll have to see what Heat Wave maybe or something, or Guilty as Charged. I know that was like January. Anyway,
it reminded me a lot of like in 2015 when I started watching New Japan. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, like your mind gets blown because you're so used to one thing,
right? And it's so different.
Yeah, and it's hard to quantify better, but like there are parts of it that are definitely better. Like,
yeah, and the thing I'm looking forward to with that too is just how different it is. Like, even just watching, like I finished watching The Night Line Was Crossed. It moves quick and it's so different and it's almost effortless in ways. And I know the TV will be a little easy to watch too because it cuts around and jumps around and there's repetitive stuff in there that you can kind of gloss over. So, the shows are only like 40 minutes or so. So it's like, quick watches and just a very different presentation. So that'll be out. We're planning right now for twice a month. So we'll see how that flies as we move forward. Also on PlayStation.com on the kind of written piece side of things, our tribute to 1994 is off and running. We had a brand new piece on Woodstock 94 hit a couple weeks ago, as well as a kind of an old classic piece that I brought back. I had written up when Bob Backlund challenged Bret Hart for the WWF title on Superstars from July 1994, and that was the match where Backlund snaps and officially turns heel at the end of it. So I kind of break down the full match and how it spurred Backlund's comeback and all that. So check that out. And I guess Hot Off the Presses on the Pop feed is a podcast as well with Jason Sherman and Andy Helene talking music of 94. So lots going on for our tribute to 94. I've been really happy with the content that's come out for that. It's been really neat. So check all that out. And I guess I can spin us right into the TV match conversation, Aaron, that we put on hold. So we talked a lot about pay-per-view matches, and I think most people are going to have their list filled with pay-per-view matches. A match like Brett Backlund, while it's very good, obviously isn't going to crack the list. But are there any that jump out to you from a TV perspective that you imagine will make it? I would think the majority of contenders will have to probably have been in the last few years, I would think.
Well, I mean, I think the two Austin mishmash tag matches. So like Austin and Michaels against Bulldog and Owen, and Austin Triple H against Jericho Benoit.
Right.
To me, those are the first ones that come to mind. I know some people talked a lot about Brett 1-2-3 Kid from 94. But as much as I think that's a great match, I don't think it's quite enough to make the list.
No, I agree.
Those would be probably where I'd start. Maybe look into the Brock Angle Iron Man. I don't remember it at all because I didn't get SmackDown at the time. So
right,
I don't know exactly where that falls. And yeah, then I guess you're into probably some of the stuff from the John Cena U.S. Open Challenge stuff.
Right, and I mean, I don't know, Cena Shawn, does that crack your list? The hour match?
Maybe. I'd have to go back and watch it, but that'd be a good one because I think that's their best match.
Right. Is that really good? Cena Punk too? Was that from like early 11 on Raw, early 12, sometime in there? 13?
Isn't it at 13?
Maybe it's 13.
Yeah, because he's trying to get it. Is he trying to get into the main event?
Yeah,
Punk?
it's right here. It's 225-13. Cena versus Punk.
Yeah. So there's that. There's also, I want to go back and rewatch this just because I think it's awesome. But I think, doesn't Daniel Bryan fight Randy Orton in a street fight that year too?
I think so. All right, so here's what I did. I isolated Raw. So let's start with that, right? I just in the board. So I started there. So let's take a look and see what's nominated, and we can quickly just kind of do a lightning round on TV matches for Raw alone right now. Let's do this. No, yes, or kind of got to think about it, right? All right, so Flair, perfect. Lose to Town. Okay.
No.
Bret Hart, Fatu. No.
I can't imagine.
Okay. Here's an interesting one because this will really kind of challenge maybe the thought of like the historical versus pure star rating. And that's Razor versus Kid from May 17th. The first, it's basically a squash, but it's, kind of the first real big memorable Raw moment. Kid's kind of coming of age, triggers the Razor face turn.
Yeah, I'd give it a watch to see. Like,
I mean, it's no more than like a star. It's a squash. I mean, it's literally a squash. Yeah. But to me, this challenge is like, how much do you factor in that historical piece that we talked about?
Yeah, like for me, I think it needs to be historical coupled with other things.
Right.
But I'd definitely be open to it.
Right. All right. On that same night, we had Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty for the Intercontinental title.
No.
Okay. One that I really like. I don't think it'll make it, but it's a really, really good match. That's Marty Jannetty versus Doink from June 93.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I can tell you really quick where I had that match. We probably talked about this great already when we argued about Marty Jannetty. That kicked off this whole. I think that started No Holds Barred basically like 3 years ago.
The Pod Blast.
Yeah. We did the Pod Blast on Marty Jannetty was the debut. So I had all right. So I had Marty Shawn at 4 on that May. I had Kid Razor at 3. And then I had Marty Doink at only 3.5. And then the Shawn Marty rematch, which is the one that's always the kind of the bout of contention that's out there over which one actually won the PWI match of the year. The July one is the one that's like listed officially, but I think that was a fuck up and it should be the May one. I went 3.5 on the July one. So
you made quite the case for Marty Jannetty on those 3 matches.
there you go. Right, he's in.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Sean Marty.
I can't believe that was your evidence for Marty Jannetty.
No, I mean also plus all the rocker stuff, but yes, of course.
Ah.
All right, Steiner's Quebecers, Province de Quebec rules match.
I'd have to watch it. I don't remember it.
I had that at 3.5, so probably not going to make it. But again, I mean, these are all very good TV matches.
Right.
Another really fun one, probably not going to make it, but is Kidd and Jannetty, again, against the Quebecers from January when they win the titles on the January 10th anniversary Raw. I went 3 on that.
Yeah, you and your obsession with Jannetty.
So again, a lot of these matches getting nominated were like never going to stand a chance, but I appreciate from a completionist, like, hey, enjoy the journey, watch these matches, learn a little bit. Yeah, they may not make your top 100, but you know, you may have seen a match you never saw before. Head Shrinkers Quebecers, which I do think is a joke that's on this list. That's from May 2nd, 94. That match was just not as good as I remember it being. I went 1.5 stars when the Head Shrinkers won the titles. When Scott and I did those Raws. It was not very good. It was depressing, actually, that match. I did not like it at all.
I'm sorry you had to go through that, man.
All right, Brett Kidd, I have it 4.5.
You had it 4.5?
That was whenever I did this, like, probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago. When Scott and I were doing these Raws.
It's one that I'm going to go back and watch, like, no matter what, just to make sure. But I think I had it, like, a little lower than that.
I wouldn't even tell you what Scott had it at. Do you want to
5?
guess? Yes.
Oh, interesting.
But we know he likes to make it snow. All right, so Brett Kidd, what else we got? Razor Shawn from August 1st, 94. I'm guessing that's a no. I had that at 3.5. Owen Kidd, which was very good, but not good enough.
Yeah.
And again, that was from August. I had that at 3.5. Brett Owen, No Holds Barred from March 27th, 95. Again, very good, but match that should not really probably be on this list. I went 3 stars. All right, Shawn Diesel and Undertaker versus Yoko, Bulldog, and Owen. Again, big match that is really more important for the memorable angle. Do you remember that one at all?
No.
All right,
Is that where Bulldog turns?
No, he had already turned.
Okay.
On Diesel. So this is kind of the fallout, and Chad and I actually reviewed this one on Wrestling Warzone, and it's a really fun match, and it's the one that has like the huge beatdown at the end by all the heels. It was like when Bill Watts had taken over, and all the heels just beat. I mean, it's like those 3: Yoko, Owen, Bulldog, and then it's like Dean Douglas and someone else comes out. There's like a Men on Mabel, I think, and that's when they break Taker's face, and he has to wear the mask, like all that stuff. So I went 3 stars, and Chad went 3, and I went 3.25 on that one. But that one's maybe one you could justify just based on the angle.
Right.
All right, Austin Mankind, Tough Man match from November 96. Guess not. All right, here's a good one. Brett, Sid, you got the pair of them. The one where Sid wins the title, and then the cage match with the infamous, just hit Pat Patterson. No good son of a bitch.
Yeah, no good son of a bitch. Yeah, maybe. Again, like, I don't remember the matches being that great.
See, I feel like the moment stuff I may factor that in more for TV because you're so less likely to get these like types of matches on TV, and when it's such a huge moment, like you want to talk about company shifts, like that cage match is such a monumental shift in presentation because they had just switched. That may actually be the first Raw, I think, in the Warzone setup, or maybe the week before, but it's one of the first like 2 Raws with the Titantron, the 2 hours, you got the swearing, the chaos. Austin's out there. Vince is like almost a character. There's so much going on that's like such a seminal tone setting for the new era of Raw. I think you could argue like maybe there's a place for that match.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see it. I don't. If it were for me, it'd be. If I was going to rate that solely on that, it would be at the very back end, probably.
Right.
But I mean, if your parameters are different, who knows?
All right. Well, here's one I think that should make the list that we weren't talking about earlier, and that's Owen versus Bulldog, the European title final.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That'll be on there. Another interesting one, again for angle more maybe, but Brett versus Austin, the street fight. It's the night after Revenge of the Taker. And that's the one that puts Brett on the shelf. He keeps starting and stopping because Austin attacks him throughout the night, and then he puts him in the sharpshooter for like 5 minutes, like after that. So that's a pretty memorable one. I don't know if it makes the list, but it's an interesting.
So, sorry to cut you off, but on WrestleMania 13 right now, Shawn Michaels is trying to work a computer.
It's also a giant fucking laptop.
Yeah,
a giant box of a laptop.
Like, does he have a learning disability at this point, Shawn Michaels?
Well, I guess they're trying to play up like, oh, he's not a nerd. Oh, I'm trying to be a goof, typing on this typewriter like all them nerds. Like
yeah, but
cool guy.
At some point, you have to be a functional adult, though. Shawn,
well, back
learn
then,
how to type.
you didn't need to be on a computer back then. Like, I'm guessing Shawn Michaels was never on a computer at that point in his life, probably. I mean,
when do you think the last time Shawn Michaels had to type out a resume was?
I'm guessing never.
Yep.
Did you think he had to apply for NXT coach Triple H? I can keep one eye on the women and one eye on the guys, Tunner.
I bet when he was younger, he showed up at job interviews and just showed his abs. Check this out.
I think he started wrestling pretty young. I don't know if he ever went and had a job. All right. We mentioned this one earlier about Austin and Michaels versus Bulldog and Owen.
Yeah.
The oft-forgotten dude in Austin versus Bulldog and Owen. No, but again, a big moment, right? Pays
I
off
just don't think it's
Pick
as
Me
good.
Steve. Yeah. The flag match: Brett, Owen, and Bulldog versus Taker, Austin, and Dude Love.
I don't think so.
Yeah, fun match. All right, how about Cactus Hunter Street Fight? That's pretty revered as like one of the early era, like really big Raw matches. That's the debut of Cactus Jack at MSG.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Good
I'd
shot.
consider that.
Foley Funk No Holds Barred, May of '98.
I don't think so.
Right.
But now, if you're talking, I think you skipped over one if you're going to talk about meaning. I don't know if it actually ends up being an official match. But what about Vince Austin?
Right. Yeah, it's not on the list. It's not nominated. It doesn't mean you can't put it, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's more angle to me than match because the bell.
Yeah.
Does the bell even ever ring? They just attack him, right?
Right, but I mean, if you're going to argue that, like, when I say you, I don't mean you, but if you're going to argue, if you're going to put a match like Brett and Sid for company change, like this.
Yeah, but that's a match. This is an angle.
Yeah,
like I could think of a million angles. That should be like Austin Tyson. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, but was this a match at all? I don't remember if it started.
I don't think
the
bell even rings. I feel like they're standing there and then like dude comes out and attacks him before the bell. Because I think Vince's first official match isn't until Valentine's Day Massacre.
Okay.
I don't think he actually wrestles until then. Like this was like a tease.
Right. Well, he's in the Rumble, but that's it. Yeah.
Right. All right. The next one is not till November of '98, and that is Mick and Bossman Hardcore Title Ladder Match. I think it's the debut of the Hardcore Title, perhaps. Then you get the famous one with Road Dogg and Al Snow when they fight in the snow. But on that same night, it was a match I will definitely make my list, and that's Mankind versus The Rock on January 4th, '99. To me, that's a lock.
Oh yeah.
I mean, such a massive moment, and a really good match. Mankind Rock ladder match the night after Valentine's Day Massacre.
Less important.
Yeah. I believe this is the highest. Wasn't this the highest rated match of all time? At least it was for a while. This is Austin, Rock, and Vince versus Taker, Triple H, and Shane from May of '99. I feel remembering like that was like the highest rated match of all time or something.
Wasn't it Austin Undertaker?
Maybe that passes it later. I remember that match at some point was like the highest rated match ever at some point. That 6-man. And then Taker Austin's the next one. That's the night after King of the Ring where Austin wins the title back. Then you got the 10-man on Raw from February 2000, which is not going to make my list based on my last watching of it. How about Jericho Triple H from April 2000 with the fake out?
I don't know. That's one that I remember the match not really being long enough.
Right.
Like for me anyway. The moment's great, but like again, it kind of gets soured right away. Mm-hmm. So maybe if he'd kept the title.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're probably talking like maybe one of the all-time great Raw moments if he keeps the title there.
Yeah.
All right. How about we got Austin Kurt from January of 2001. And that's a great match, I believe. That's Austin's like kind of first match, like wow, like he's back match after the injury. I don't know if it's enough to get on this list. I don't remember it that thoroughly, but I remember it being a pretty. Isn't that where Triple H interferes at the end? Was that one? You son of a bitch! Where like Jim
yeah,
Ross
I think so.
out.
And he debuts the game music there. I think
so. Yeah.
I mean, Scott would know, right?
Right. Obviously, plays on a loop. All right, we know we got this one: Austin and Triple H versus Jericho and Benoit.
Yeah.
And then we don't have a lot there for 01 on Raw. There's a bunch of SmackDowns we can look at, but we jump ahead to November. But I remember there being a really good Kurt. Was it Kurt and Benoit in a cage or something? In like when he does the moonsault off the cage. That's somewhere in 01.
Was that on Raw or was that on SmackDown?
No, that's Raw. I feel like it's Kurt Benoit, like the blow off to their feud. He does it's just the one where he does the moonsault off the cage and he misses. Like that, I remember that's like the big spot in that match.
Yeah.
Here's one that should probably make it too. It's Jericho Rock from November 5th, 01, when for the WCW title. That was in the middle of their feud. They had fought in No Mercy, and then they fought on Raw, and then Vengeance, and then the Rumble.
That's where Rock wins it back, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a good one too. Eddie Rob Van Dam in the ladder match from May 27th. That might be a maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if it'll make it, but it's worth looking into.
How do you feel about Jeff and Taker ladder match, July?
I don't think it'll make it.
I had it sub 4, I think, when I watched it for this.
Yeah, like I remember it being really good. I'm gonna rewatch it, but I would be surprised.
Right. Tommy Dreamer, Rob Van Dam. It's not hardcore Intercontinental Unification match.
Fuck Tommy Dreamer.
How about TLC? God, sorry.
I just watched the 6-man from WrestleMania 23 with the New Breed versus the ECW originals.
Yes.
Tommy Dreamer's terrible. He's just fucking terrible. He's crying in the ring at the end, like he accomplished something, and I guess he did, but like...
All right, he had a WrestleMania match. Probably never
I
expected
know, but like, I just don't get it. Maybe I need to rewatch ECW, but like, he just feels like a fucking loser.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a mark. All right, how about the TLC with Kane? The greatest Raw match of all time per Raw.
No, the greatest Raw match of all time will not make my list.
Okay. Sean RVD from November. I don't remember that being anything standout. Rock Hurricane. I mean, that's a famous moment, but not much of a match. Okay, here's one. Sean Triple H from December of 03.
I love that match.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, that should probably make it or sniff it. Flair and Batista versus RVD and Booker. I'm guessing that's a big old no. Sean Benoit from February. I remember that had a lot of hype. But I don't think that was anything too spectacular. Shelton Triple H, again, a really fun moment. Not, a good match, but
it's fine.
Not all timer. Trish versus Lita.
That's the main event, right?
Yeah. Where Lita almost kills herself. Or is that the cage? I forget which one. I always get those mixed up.
Whenever she wrestles.
Right. So probably not.
Yeah.
It's funny because there's such a big gap. I don't know if it's just folks like not reliving that era as often to remember. I remember there being like just tons of 6-man and tag. Remember like all the Evolution tags? Maybe they're just really not good enough, but I'm surprised some of those didn't get added on the list,
Yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, all of 04, there's like 3 matches, 4 matches from Raw.
Right.
I feel like there was more than that. There's like nothing from SmackDown, which I kind of believe that, but not much from the Raw point of view. All right, so then we jump to 06, which I think seems a little crazy. Tell me there's nothing in 05 or Raw that was, at least on par with some of those other shit that's been thrown out, but maybe not. Again, I think it's just a time period that maybe people don't remember as easily.
I remember I was watching pretty religiously in 05, and I can't think of a single standout match from Raw.
Right, but I think it's just not as nostalgic an era, so like the matches don't waft for you. You know what I mean? Like it's just
sure, but I can think of a ton of matches from pay-per-views.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we just know pay-per-views better than the TV. Like I was watching Raw every week, and like I couldn't tell you shit like on any of those Raws. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I don't think that doesn't mean they weren't good though. I'm sure there were some good matches in there. I think there were matches on par with some of the other stuff we talked about. Was my point. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, maybe yeah.
All right, Triple H, RVD, and Big Show from February of 06. I don't know. All right, John Cena, Shawn Michaels from England. I think we probably have that as a maybe. Then we jump all the way to 2010 for TV. Edge versus Christian, May 17th, 10.
I have no clue.
All right, Miz versus Lawler, TLC match, November of 10.
I can't see that making my list. I do remember that match, though.
Nothing from 11, apparently. Bryan versus Punk from February of 12, and they had a SmackDown match too within the same week, the week before rather. So I'd have to rewatch those. I feel like you could do a whole night on just Punk Bryan probably between those two, and then the two pay-per-view matches later in the year.
Right.
Cena Del Rio, the street fight, Christmas street fight on Christmas Eve.
No.
Jericho Punk, and then Cena Punk from early 13. I'm guessing Cena Punk has a shot.
Yeah.
Here's your Bryan. Yep, I'm sorry.
Because those guys have magic chemistry together.
Correct.
Are they maybe the two top guys that have the best chemistry that have had I guess Undertaker Michaels would be the other people in contention, but yeah, maybe
Bret Austin.
Yeah, Rock Austin. I think all of those matches are great.
I think Bret Austin's in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, they got two all-timers, like fives, and then the Fringe of the Taker is very good. The Raw Street Fight's very good. You got Canadian Stampede in there.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Here's your Brian Orton match from June. No disqualification. June 17th, 13.
Yeah.
Jericho RVD from July 15th.
I can't see
Goldust Randy Orton from 9-9. And then Cody and Goldust versus The Shield. Looks like it's the night after the famous Battleground match. I'm guessing that might pop up, too, on the tag team matches we had talked about earlier.
I'm surprised that, maybe because people just don't like Cody, but there's a Cody Orton match in there, too, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's as good. I think it's as good as the Goldust one.
Right. Brian Orton again in February, and then Cena Cesaro. I remember that being really good too. February 17th, 14. Shield versus Wyatt's March 3rd. Neville Rollins from April 6th, 15, and then Cena Cesaro. I'm guessing this is during the U.S. Open stuff on July 6th, and then Cesaro versus Rusev versus Kevin Owens a week later, July 13th.
Yeah.
New Day versus Jericho and Styles from.
What do you think of Kevin Owens' main roster stuff?
Outside
of Cena.
Yeah, I would say slightly disappointing. I like that Ambrose match I watched recently for your project from the Rumble. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I like the Jericho match. I mean, very good, I guess. Like, I can't imagine any of it would even sniff this outside of maybe the Cena stuff.
Does it ever? He's a guy that I feel like there's always just something missing.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because I love him.
Well, it's one of those guys you just keep waiting for, like the right. Like, do you need the perfect storm to have this great match? And has he not give it? Like, I mean, they gave him fucking like a decent amount of time with Cesaro on pay-per-view, and like it just it was good. It was very good.
Yeah, he fought Styles. It was very good, right. But not
right. Yeah, maybe he peaks.
But then he has those matches with Cena that are so good.
Right. Well, Cena's also like the top 5 greatest of all time. So
yeah.
I mean, I know it's like funny to think about because we're so conditioned for so long to not think it, but as we saw, like, I mean, he's got maybe more classics than anybody, right? I mean,
well, and you think of these work rate guys, right? Like Owens, like AJ,
mm-hmm.
Who are their best matches with?
John Cena. Big match, John. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we did the whole GWE singles thing, but like, I don't think voting Cena won is like absurd. Like, I think a couple people did. Like, I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, you could argue he has the most big matches of anyone.
Yeah. I mean,
the problem is he also has a bunch of shit that weighs on it a bit, and his character for much of it, and
the business exposing shit he does all the time. But yeah,
I mean, if you're just talking like purely peak matches, he might be number one. All right, New Day versus Jericho and Styles. I'm thinking no. Jericho versus Styles versus Owens versus Cesaro. That's the night after Mania. I remember that being very good, but
look, I'm going to be honest. Anything you go into now, I'm not going to know.
Okay, we got Roman versus Finn Balor, Charlotte versus Sasha from July, some 4-way, a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch here from 16, nothing from 17, which surprises me. Some stuff from 18. As well, Miz versus Roman. I'm guessing not. There's that long-ass gauntlet match from last year.
Right.
Rollins, Reigns, Cena, Balor, Miz, Elias, Braun. I think that went like an hour or something, didn't it?
Yeah, it's so absurd that we have the best in-ring talent ever.
Right.
And like we can't even be bothered to watch week to week.
Right. Or think like go like, you know, we're doing that live watch group and we're rewatching a ton of stuff. And like I don't think we've watched much past like 04, 05, you know what I mean? Like this,
yeah.
Like no one's clamoring to throw in, you know, whatever, this SmackDown from 2017 to talk about this great match that everyone loved or whatever.
Because everyone's just going to groan when Dolph Ziggler shows up on the TV.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I do want to maybe check out a handful of those TV matches we just talked about from earlier in the 2000s, just to see if any of them pop up. But all right, do you want to throw some matches out off this list? And
yeah, let's do it.
So anyway, I think we boiled it down to maybe you're talking 5 to 10 TV. Like maybe 10 would be in the high end. You know, we didn't touch SmackDown, what we just talked about. We didn't touch NXT. I don't know if there's anything in the weekly that would make it. We also didn't talk like really
there's a
old.
Mustache Mountain Undisputed Era that'll for sure make mine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Nakamura TJ Perkins match that I'm going to have to revisit as well.
And then there's some older stuff. I mean, it depends what you consider like the house shows, right? Like some of that stuff aired on MSG Network at some point, like Backlund Patera. You know, like this shit's on tape, right? So it exists. You know, Sheik and Slaughter and like all that stuff. Hogan Sheik. Like again, I think Hogan Sheik is another one for like the key. Like how much does importance mean to you? Category, right? You could say it's like a poor man's Hogan Andre in some ways.
Yeah.
Hogan Piper from War to Settle the Score, like huge historical match, but not a very good match. You know, it's like like how does that stuff pop for some people? Like some of this older stuff, it's gonna be like the tag teams, right? You just have to try and at least this shit's watchable. Like some of those tag teams, we could never find anything. At least this stuff that's on this list all exists somewhere to watch. So
yeah, if you have the network, you can find it.
Yeah, or anywhere else, but they all exist in some level.
First match, you ready?
Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior Honky Tonk Man Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, it'll be on there. I don't fucking know where. I want to say I usually go like with the 3-star split the middle on that one. I think when I rank it,
right?
Just 5 for moment, dud for match, and just kind of go in the middle. But I mean, it kicks off one of the all-time greats runs, and it's such a good payoff to Honky. The crowd just goes bonkers. Billy Graham's losing his shit. It's a good moment.
You don't want to say that.
Probably the only match from '88 that would even have a shot, I guess. I went 3 stars when we watched it for the podcast like last year. So I had Mega Powers, Mega Bucks at 3.5, but again, I don't see that happen.
It's cool, but yeah, I don't know. It'll probably finish high for me, but again, it's just because I think it's actually quite perfect, and it has that Honky reign. I mean, you couldn't have booked that better. Right. The way that reign ended.
No, but he is on fumes. Great. It's funny because we were watching '87 and we're like, oh, all right, God, where's all this Honky talk? Like, why is everyone shitting on Honky? Like, his late '87 stuff is so good. He's got these, and he's holding up his end of the bargain. He's got these matches with Savage, these matches with Steamboat, and they're all really, really good. And then '88 comes, and it's just like the switch flips, and it's just off a cliff. And it's just like, oh my God, he really meanders into that SummerSlam match. Like, that was the perfect time. If they didn't do it there, it would have been waiting way too long. So it crests. It's maybe a little bit long, but because they don't have anything before that where they can do it, it's fine. And it also gave time for Warrior to ramp up. By the way, this Vader Mankind versus Bowling and All match is way longer than I remembered it being. It's like it's been on for a while here.
And it's good.
Yeah, it's fine. Not making my list.
No, probably not. Okay, Bret Hart Diesel, Survivor Series 95.
Yes, it's making my list. I'm checking it twice. Gotta find out.
Who's naughty, who's nice?
Where I'm gonna rank
in the 80s.
I'm stalling because I wanted to see what I said it was when Chad and I did it. I gotta create more of a master list. Like I just got all these podcasts have like different sheets where I have everything.
Yeah, you might want to put that together.
Yeah, so I might want to start organizing this a little bit better. But I went 4.5.
Yeah, I have it a bit lower.
Yeah,
but I don't think it'll make mine because of that.
Wow. Yeah, it'll make mine. It's probably the only of theirs that'll make it. I'm guessing. I like King of the Ring 94 a lot. I like Rumble 95 a lot as well. But I think that's more like a 4-star. So I think the Survivor Series.
What about their cage match?
Well, I'm going to be watching it soon for Wrestling Warzone. But I'm guessing no. He will not make it. But I think Survivor Series will definitely make it for me. And I think that might be the only one of their series.
Now, what about, now I'm just spitballing off, Shawn Michaels, Diesel, good friends, better enemies?
So I had 4 stars for Diesel Brett at the Rumble last I had done it. Yes, Shawn Diesel should make it for me. I haven't watched it in a while.
Higher than Diesel Brett?
Not off my memory, but I might have him same at max.
Right. Yeah, I have Shawn Diesel slightly better.
Yeah.
So I
don't think I could quibble with it. I'm hoping to get through, like, the problem is Chad and I aren't moving at the greatest pace right now because of his home life schedule, homework schedule. Sure. But I was hoping to get through some of this 96 stuff again, like before this list is due. So that would include Mind Games, which I don't think we obviously won't get to. But Good Friends, Better Enemies is on there as well. So, some of these 96 matches, like, I don't know, where do you have the Iron Man?
I have it at like 3.5, I think.
No, I had it at 4 last time I watched it. So.
Yeah, it won't make my list.
No. Yeah.
Like it's a match I always want to like, but we talked about chemistry earlier. I don't think they have great chemistry. Shawn and Brett.
No, I think there's just so much issue there. Like for all their big matches, like, and even that Survivor Series 92 is very good. But when we did it for the group watch, I remember thinking like it was definitely a little bit disappointing.
I think my favorite of their matches is the Survivor Series 97.
Right, and that's not
maybe it's because they're fighting for real.
Yes, I went 3-7-5 on that Survivor Series 92 match.
I think I have it around the same.
Yeah, 4 for 12, and then Montreal again. That falls into that bucket. Moment over, like, it's such a historically important match, but does that make it?
Yeah, I doubt it, but right. Yeah. Here's one: Undertaker, Bret Hart, SummerSlam 97.
Yeah. So we watched that together, right? Oh no, we did it one night only.
Yeah, we did one night only.
Which I had at 4.25. I want to say I probably had 4.5 for that one ish around there. So I think it'll maybe sneak in at the end.
Yeah, it's about the same for me. Yeah. And sticking in 97 because we kind of a 97 theme. First Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, my known issues with that, but probably 4 3/4 for me and a lock for the list.
I think that match might make my top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't get past the finish.
I don't know. It just doesn't bother me. Because, like, I find I love the Michaels Undertaker series. And to me, watching them relatively close to each other, that's actually my favorite of their matches. Mm-hmm. And, like, I'm sure that's sacrilege to some because the WrestleMania 25 is so revered.
I wouldn't disagree with it. Like, I know it's like a perfect match. The end, like, I have to punish it for that finish for me. But that doesn't say, like, I don't think it's better than that, or I wouldn't have it, like, as my favorite. Like, if you put those 3 Michaels, Taker, or 4, if you want to even count Rumble 98, or Grounds, whatever, put the whole series in front of me, I'm probably picking the Cell every time to watch. You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's something about the WrestleMania 25 one. I love it. Like, it just doesn't quite do it for me on this. There's a visceral hate. Like, I love matches with hate. Mm-hmm. And there's not that many of them.
There is a very exhibition-y feeling to some of Shawn's bigger matches in the end.
Yeah.
Like, he has some great blood brawls, you know what I mean? Like in 03 and 04 and stuff. But those last few years, like, a lot of that stuff feels exhibition-y. Like the Mr. WrestleMania moment match. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crazy that he was able to deliver with that pressure and with that, like, with that reputation.
Mm-hmm. How about Taker Lesnar, Cell?
I have a big problem with that match. Oh. I have it very high. It'll definitely make my list. Yep. But I can't stand how many punches Taker throws with his broken hand.
Yeah.
It really bothers me and takes me out of the match.
But you have it on the list.
Pardon me?
But you have it on the list.
I do have it on the list. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I had it at 4.75, so I had it the same as Taker Michaels in my world.
Right.
But yes, it's the same little deficiencies in there. Yeah, the punch, and then you get all the shit with the some of the Heyman stuff is a little bit much with the wife and the mistress and all that shit. That's kind of baked into that as well. But yes, it's obviously a great brawl. Taker Lesnar, what about their chemistry?
I love it.
Top guys, they're pretty good too. I mean, you almost have to discount 30 just because of the concussion stuff, but obviously an all-time moment. But all their other matches are like great.
Yeah, the SummerSlam match, I don't think it'll sneak in, unfortunately, but it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really good and really fun, and it's a great ending too, with like Lesnar passing out and flipping him off.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's just such a cool. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Very different.
How often is Lesnar going to be on this list up high?
So I think that's another very interesting look, and maybe this is something we can do next time we do this.
Sure.
We'll save it because I think it's a possible robust discussion. But that is who's going to have the most matches, right? Like, who are the guys that will be on here the most? I think Lesnar obviously is going to be on here a ton. Cena. Michaels, Austin, maybe Foley, right? I mean, there's obviously going to be a bunch of guys that pop up. So I think that'll be a fun. Let's save that for our next episode. We'll go through like who do we handicap as being the guys with the most matches.
Yeah. Okay, here. Ric Flair versus the Macho Man Randy Savage, WrestleMania 8.
That is one where if I was going straight like stars, it may like be on the cusp, but I will probably make sure it gets on my list because I love everything about it so much.
Yeah, that's another one I have stupid high, but I just think it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's got so much emotion behind it.
Oh, yeah. It's one of my favorite matches and one of my favorite shows of all time. It's one of those irrational shows for me as well. Just all about it.
Well, the first half is really good.
Right. Peters, obviously, but then you get the Warrior return is great too.
I'm going to argue too, and this might just be the Sid mark in me, that I don't feel the main event is that bad.
Yeah, it's the Sid mark.
Well, but like, it's WrestleMania 13 main event is way worse. Like, infinitely worse. I find the WrestleMania 8 one is just a Hogan monster match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so let me throw this at you. What Rumbles make your list?
All right. Well, 92, obviously.
Yeah.
You mentioned 2010 before, maybe 2007 I like a lot. And then you get the 05, maybe. Maybe. Probably not.
I just watched 07.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I don't think it holds up as well. Because I think it's so well remembered for Michaels and Undertaker, but that's actually not that big a part of the match.
Right.
And I think that's where it gets kind of dinged a bit.
So do you just have 92 and 10? Is there any other ones?
I don't know 10 yet. I'm going to see, but I would definitely probably throw 90. I think 90 is like, for me, maybe the purest Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they nail the formula of like either having a hated heel in there the whole time, and at the same time having a super over face. Like, there's not a second in that match that lulls. And
it's also pure in the fact that there's no title shot on the line, so it's just purely for the Rumble. For the sake of the Rumble. Which I think, you may think it hurts it, but I also think it helps it, because it's like, it's just like you said, it's just like this, it's all about the Rumble. There's like nothing else in it. It's a pure Rumble match.
Yeah, and they're right at the cusp where like all their great 80s guys are there.
Right.
Like, I can't even think of anyone missing from that one. Because you get everyone, and everyone.
Hogan, Andre, Warrior, Perfect, Rude, DiBiase, Jake, Boss Man, Savage.
Yeah, and they all play a good role in it. Like, you got and the feuds are woven into.
Piper.
Piper. I'd consider 97 as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know 97 gets dinged a lot for the Mexican guys, but again, I don't think it's almost for me the opposite of 07 in that like we talk about the Mexican guys, but they're not in the match that much.
Well, what bothered me in 97 is I feel like guys were misused or eliminated quickly that could have helped buoy it. Like I think Mero goes out real quick. Hunter maybe, Goldust. Like I feel like there's guys that like could have stuck around longer and helped kind of like fill it out that go out like surprisingly quick. Owen, like isn't he out quick, or Bulldog, one of them? You know what I mean? Like there's guys that maybe could have stuck around and helped carry things that go down quick.
Right. I mean, I guess the reason why it doesn't bother me is because they're so clearly trying to tell the Austin story.
Right.
But I think when you get to the end, the people there's at least 4 guys in there that can conceivably win it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all their top guy. They're real top guys.
Well, that was the whole precipice of early 97, late 96 or 97, right? From Survivor Series on, it really becomes like the Wild West with the title picture. It's like they have this group of 6 guys. Instead of having a dedicated feud, it's just this group of guys mishmash that all of them were in the title picture. All of them are in the main event. Any of them can be champion at any time.
Yeah, and I think that actually really helps the Rumble at the end.
Mm-hmm.
The other Rumble I'd throw in there just for discussion is 2018.
Yeah.
I think it's a really solid Rumble, and it's really well booked start to finish.
It'd be interesting. I mean, the Rumble matches are something that's considered like peak WWF, right? I mean, like everyone loves the Rumble. People say it's the one show they'd order a year, even over Mania, on and on. It'd be curious to see how much that cashes in on a list like this. Like, how much do they really love?
Yeah,
the Rumble.
2018 is interesting too because it's like the first one they get right. Like after a few years of I feel people were perpetually disappointed with the Rumbles for a while.
Yep.
And with good reason.
Oh, yeah. 14, 15. I mean, they were all... Like, 16 was good because of the AJ stuff.
Yeah.
And I think people actually weren't too upset with Hunter winning because they just didn't want it to be Reigns in 16.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah.
Imagine that.
Right. That's how much of the Reigns stuff got out of hand at that point, that people were happy it was Hunter over him. All right. So why don't we do this? Why don't we put a pin in the GWE stuff? We'll come back next episode. We'll talk more matches. We'll talk individual guys. But why don't we finish up real quick with a look at our stuff on 13. So we were watching it. We're into Brett versus Austin now. It's been the backdrop. We haven't talked too much about the show because we've gotten so kind of wrapped up in our other discussions. But what is your argument for not being one of the bottom shows?
How many are there's 35 WrestleManias?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what will be the bottom? Like, what would be to be considered in the bottom? Is it bottom third?
Well, I mean, to me, like bottom 5 is the dregs, right? So what do you got down there? 32, 2.
Okay. The worst 2. 9. 30. Well, I don't need to jump that high.
32 is in there though.
Yeah, 32 is for sure in there.
It sucks. I just rewatched 32 as part of the 16 stuff that we're doing.
Yeah,
that I've been doing. I'm like 16 years behind you, but that show like is really good until through the women's match. Like it cruises and it's like, all right, this is good stuff. Wins again, and then it just, my God, just goes off the fucking
the balls
rails.
Of Stephanie McMahon cutting a promo at 11:45 at night.
It just goes way off the rails. Like after that, and once you get to the cell, it's just like the worst. Like block, and it's still 2 hours from there. You know what I mean, it's like ridiculous. But if you were to end it at that women's match and it had like just through maybe Reigns squashing Hunter after that, you may be talking about a very good Mania. You know.
I mean, to me, these are the dregs, right? 2, 9, and 32.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any there else that are like dregs because they all have. I feel they all have something redeeming about them.
Yeah, 9. Well, 9 does have something redeeming. It's just that it's the atmosphere, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's not enough.
11. Where do you have 11?
It's in the bottom, but I quite like Shawn Diesel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's a good match, and I mean I know people are like, oh, Shawn was getting himself over at the expense of Diesel and stuff, and perhaps that's true, but the match was still good, and I actually think Bigelow Lawrence Taylor over delivered too. So. Oh
yeah, that's probably the best celebrity match, at least for a long time.
I think Mayweather beats it.
Yeah. That's what I said, for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you got that. You got 15. What are your thoughts on 15?
15's terrible outside the main event.
Right.
So, but the main event is great, I think. So
And is it terrible match wise or like because stuff happens, the crowd's into it. It's a hot time. Like, does that help? You know.
I mean, the murder certainly knocks it down a peg or two.
Does that sell worse than Shane and Taker? No.
No, because it's not as long.
Right.
I mean, the ending is worse.
Is it? How about 16?
I don't like 16.
Right.
I think 16 is a pretty overrated show, but it has the ladder match. So again, it wouldn't be in the dregs, right?
So you would have 16 maybe like in the 13 bucket.
Yeah.
Like a great match, another very good match, and then just kind of not much else.
Yeah, but I like 13 more.
Mm-hmm.
I think 13's a more interesting watch than 2000.
16, yeah. What else is in there?
Well, I mean, what about 02? Like
18?
02. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, sorry.
I like 18. I mean, you got Hogan, Rock, and Flair Taker alone, I think.
Yeah. But
and I also don't mind Jericho Triple H. Like, I think that gets lumped in with this other crap, but I don't think it's like... I think the match itself is fine. It's just was not done any favors. But, like, to compare... I wouldn't compare that to Reigns, Hunter, or Hunter Orton. Is like the other, like, kind of real bad Hunter matches that cap off of Mania with a hot match underneath it. But
no, it's not as bad as those, but it also... It doesn't... Like, you just said it. It doesn't do itself any favors. It doesn't need to be that long. It's the same criticisms of all of them. What about 29?
Yeah, I was going to say that one next.
Because you got Punk Taker.
Which is the best match, but it's lesser than the other shows that have the one great match, right?
Yeah. So look, let's just do this quickly. All right. WrestleMania 13. All right?
Yep.
Is it better than WrestleMania 1?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have WrestleMania
1. Yeah. I mean, unless you're someone like a Scott who has, like, Revere is 1 because of what it means, but it's basically a house show.
Yeah. We've already established it's better than 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's not better than 3.
No, it's not. No.
Is it better than 4?
Yeah, fuck. It depends how into the Savage storyline you are with the tournament. I mean, it is a rough show. There's not a lot of good matches. The best match is probably the main event, which is 3.5 stars. You know what I mean? Like, so. Yeah. And it's a long show.
It's a long show. Well, the tag match is actually really good too.
But if you really like the era and you love Savage, like, I could see it being better for people, and I probably wouldn't quibble with it.
Okay, so we're saying 13 is better. Is that it?
Me and you, yeah. I think we say that.
Okay, so it's better than 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it better than 5?
No.
Okay, but I don't think it's that far.
No. Yeah, maybe not. But
is it better than 6?
Well, you know my stance. No.
Yeah. I'll put it not better than 6.
Okay.
It's not better than 7.
Definitely not. 7's
not
like 7's criminally underrated.
7's amazing. Yeah. It's not better than 8.
No. 9.
Are you disagreeing? 9 is in the list. It's not better than 10.
Definitely not.
I think it's probably better than 11.
Yeah, because I think it's similar to 11, but 11 doesn't have... I mean, even if you like Diesel Shawn, you're not going probably higher than 4 on that. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Yeah. Is it better than 12? Now, this is an interesting one because 12 actually I don't think has anything bad on it, really. But it doesn't really have anything great on it either.
Yeah, 12's an interesting show. It's definitely a very middle of the road. So I guess it just comes down to, how much do you weigh what the weight of Austin Brett?
Yeah, because when you look at 13, you have obviously there's Austin Brett, and the street fight's really good.
Yeah,
with the Nation and whatnot. I think the big weight on 13 is the main event,
right?
Which is garbage.
And 12 is such a weird outlier because of the card construction. It's like the least amount of matches on a Mania. All that time is it's almost like, I mean, I wouldn't say leave it off, but it's almost like unfair to rank it sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's so different.
What would you rather watch right now, 13 or 12?
Well, I'm watching 13. I always like 12 because I'm just such a big fan of 96. I like the opener. Like, I don't mind the Piper Goldust, Austin Vega. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's some good stuff. You get the Warrior moment.
Yeah.
It all comes down to how much you could tolerate the Iron Man, I guess.
So I'll put 12 ahead of it for now.
Right, but it's close.
Yeah. Okay, 14.
I'd put 14 above.
Why?
I think it's just so much of an era show. Like, the Tyson stuff is such a big part of it. I really like Shamrock Rock with the moment with Rock getting wheeled out. I like the dumpster match. I like the main event, and the build. I just think the atmosphere, just everything about it.
What's the best match on 14?
Yeah.
Is that crack 4, you think?
Yeah, maybe. Especially when you factor in everything going around with it with Tyson and Michael's injury.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put it ahead, but
okay.
I think it's close. 15. Yeah, I think 13 is better than 15.
Yeah, probably.
I think 13 is better than 2000.
Yeah, probably.
I think 13 is better than 2001.
Come on.
I know. 13 and 18.
18.
Well, we said 18.
Yeah.
Better. Okay, 19, no. 20, no. 21, no. 22, no. 23, no. 24, no. 25, no. 26, no. 13 is better than 27.
Yeah. Yep.
28, no. We had it. Do we have it better than 29?
I think so, because I think the best match on that show is better than Punk Taker, and then there's not a ton else on 29. But I think the funny thing with 29 at the time, I think it was looked at as like one of the worst of all time, and it probably still is in the bottom third. But I think the more recent ones that have been longer and more bloated have actually made 29 look a little bit better in retrospect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a meager 4 hours.
I mean, it's not as bloated as some of the more recent ones, and it kind of moves along. Like the concert's not that bad. You know what I mean? Like it's like when you look at it compared to some of the ones that follow it, like, 30 and 31 are better, but when you get to 32, like I think it's like, I don't think 29 looks as bad in retrospect as it did at the time. Like at the time it was like, oh, this is an awful show. I'm not saying it's good. Again, I'm thinking it's still probably in the bottom tier, but I don't think it's like a bottom 3 show like it was called at the time,
No, I think 29 also, like, it burnt out goodwill of the fans too.
Yeah.
Like with Punk and Rock and doing Cena Taker again.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not as good as 30. It's not as good as 31. It's better than 32. Is it better than 33?
Wait, did you say 31 was better?
31 is better than 13.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
32 is worse. 33. I like 33. But again, I was there. Like, I love Brock Goldberg so much. And,
I do too.
You get the Hardys moment, which to me is like a Top Mania moment. I'd have to watch Reigns Taker again. Like, it's gonna be better than Taker Sid, right?
Yeah, but it's boring. Like, it is better, but it's still boring. Like, it's.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put it like kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Is it better than 34?
See, the thing with 33 too, I thought that was like an all-timer until toward the end, until the Orton stuff. So it's an interesting. Oh God, it has.
Yeah, that's at least as bad as Taker Sid.
Yeah, but that show was like I remember thinking like, wow, this is like a all-time great Mania up until that point. I don't remember what came after that. Was it just that and then the main event? I don't remember if there was anything in between. But when after like, let me look really quick because I don't think I've watched that show again.
Keep talking. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched that show since I was there live. Honestly,
I just watched it and like. It was fun to watch, but it was a slog.
Oh, you got Lesnar Goldberg's after it, which is to me like an all-time. Like that'll be on my list, 100%.
Yeah.
And then it's got the 6-pack SmackDown, which is like 10 minutes.
Oh, you got Styles McMahon, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Owens Jericho is good. The women's 4-way is good. The Hardy Boys is good. Yeah, it's looking good. John Cena, Nikki Bella stuff is fine.
Yeah, it's a fun moment.
Triple H, Seth Rollins is not good.
Well, I think it's probably of the best of the Hunter epics, right?
Great.
But still, I mean, you could have had an awful Hunter match. Instead, we just got a, mediocre one.
Yeah. Okay. So 33 for sure is better than 13, I think. Looking at that.
Yeah.
Is 34.
Plus Orton Bray is only 10. How long is Sid Taker? Is that close to that?
It's like 18, I think. It's long. It's long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to double check.
Yeah, it's 21.
Yeah, it's
so as bad as Orton was, I mean, it's still only 10 minutes, half the length of that fucking match.
Yeah,
but Reigns Taker's 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't like Reigns Taker. There are people that like the story that it tells.
Yeah.
I am not. I guess the story's fine, but it's a story I didn't need to hear.
Right.
And I would say 34 is probably better than 13.
Again, that's another one I have to watch. I was in that vacuum at the Superdome where like I had no sound basically because of where I was sitting. So it's hard for me to really remember like too much. But I mean, I obviously loved the Rousey match. I thought that was great.
The opener's good too. The triple threat for the
the opener's very good. Yeah, you get Danny Bryan's return. You know, shaky as the match was, it's still a great moment. AJ Knock is very good too.
Yeah, and Lesnar Reigns I like too. It's fine. Like, yeah, okay. So look, we got
and then 35.
35 I think is better than 13.
Yeah.
But again, I'm kind of. I mean, I haven't seen it since I was there. So,
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 worse than it.
Okay.
And we have about 4 or 5 that are like kind of equal.
So we're saying maybe it's the middle of the road show.
Yeah.
Not an all-time worst.
No, I think that makes sense.
Okay. Well, there you
And
go.
and yeah, it's got an alt. Is it the worst main event in history?
Well, you're saying Hogan Sid is better, right?
I like it better. I don't think, but I also don't think Hogan Sid is bad. So, like, what's in the conversation? It's obviously that. It's Hunter Orton.
Yep.
Hunter Reigns.
Yep. That's probably it.
Yeah, I guess.
I think Hunter Orton is worse.
I think both of them are worse.
I think, yes. You know why? Because they shouldn't have been booked the way they were booked. Like, Taker Sid, it's Taker's big moment. Like, you could argue, like, they couldn't have done much better. The only thing you could say is, should Brett and Austin have closed? But you really couldn't because of the story you're telling with Brett. So you had to close with that. And, like, should they have gone 20? Maybe not. But you know what? It's also a short card with a depleted roster. There was only, like, so much you could possibly do at that point. You know what I mean? So it's like, it had to be there. Whereas Hunter Orton and Hunter Reigns did not have to be what they were at all. Hunter Orton should not have been that based on the storyline. And Hunter Reigns should have been like a 3-minute just shit kicking. You know what I mean? And especially on that bloated card. So, yeah, I'd say those are both worse just because of what they could and should have been.
I'd throw WrestleMania 27 main event in there too, probably.
Yeah. I can't blame them though with Miz getting knocked cold like 2 minutes ago, whatever the fuck happened. I mean, it's hard to hold that against them.
Well, didn't Sid shit his pants? We're gonna hold that against him.
That was not that show.
Oh no.
No. That was a house show. It always gets conflated.
Well. All right, so WrestleMania 13 is not the worst of all time.
You're right.
And it's and as we're talking about this, Austin is struggling in the sharpshooter.
Yeah, so it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
Because this is where the show should have been. No, I'm looking. The street fight's really good too.
Yeah. And it would be a shitty way to end the show. With Bret Hart being booed out of the building.
Right. Well, plus you needed him to interfere later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
Although I always want to dig it up a notch for like Sid beating him up before the match.
Oh yeah.
I love.
I do like showing. Like, Jesus Christ, not this guy again. When he comes out again.
Take your whining ass out of here.
All right. Why don't we wrap up? This is a really fun return, Aaron. I had a great time.
Yeah, me too.
Chatting with you as always. So we'll hopefully do this again sooner than later, and we'll do some more GWE stuff. We hope that this like jump starts again. There's actually, if you go to the message board, piccolo34@prowrestling.com, there is a section dedicated to this project, and there are a couple guys in there giving like match reviews, like now, like currently. I know our buddy Rory McNamara is in there. I know Tyler Kelly's in there, and a couple others are actually giving like match thoughts and reviews as they break them down. So you can do that. There's also a dedicated Facebook page as well. So start sharing your thoughts. I think it's around the time where folks may start really looking at their lists. So I'm hoping that, again, Aaron, we'll jumpstart the conversation and kind of get this back into the front and center for folks as we move toward the end of the year.
Yeah, and if there's any matches that you guys want us to talk about specifically, let us know and we'll do it. We'll disappoint you.
Yeah, or let us know ahead of time so we can watch it anytime as well.
Yeah.
Before it's on. All right, the bars have been back in the hold, or something like that. So we'll talk to you soon at some point. Be sure to check out everything else going on at PlayStation.com. We mentioned earlier. Twitter, PlaceNumber2BeNation, Facebook.com/PlaceNation. I'll be back at some point with a bunch of stuff. I know definitely Monday I'll be here with Scott and Peter Winton. We're looking at Saturday's main event from November '89, I believe, or October, maybe October '89. And lots going on there. So anyway, that's it. We're out. That's Aaron. I'm me. Bye.
13's better than 14.
They shaking in they boots like they a bunch of wet kittens. We colder than some dry ice in your hands with no mittens. Go get yourself a ticket, tell the haters good riddance. Bandata, ay mira mamá, muévase mi linda mulata. Y mira como menea, qué linda muchacha. Y ella tiene fuego y yo soy un triquitaca. Y ahora los movemos lado a lado como almaca. Y todos somos raza, mi grupo bandata. Y mueve, ¿qué te pasa? Yo digo bandata. Ay mira mamá, muévase mi linda mulata. Ay mira mamá, muévase mi linda mulata. Y mira cómo menea, qué linda muchacha. Y ella tiene fuego y yo soy un triquitaca. Y ahora nos movemos lado a lado como almaca. Y todos somos raza, mi grupo bandata. Y mueve, ¿qué te pasa? Yo digo bandata. Ay mira mamá, muévase mi linda mulata. Bandata, ay mira mamá, muévase mi linda mulata. Y mira cómo menea, qué linda muchacha. Y ella tiene fuego